Welcome to the Movies of the Damn podcast. My name is Kyle Grant, and I'm sitting here with my friend and published horror author, John Hunt. If you enjoy what you hear here today, please subscribe to our YouTube channel, check out our Facebook page, and follow us on both Instagram and Twitter, @DamnMovies. Email us any questions, comments, and suggestions to moviesofthedamned@gmail.com. For further details on John's published works, please visit his blog, johnhuntfiction.wordpress.com. Today, we'll be discussing Michael Haneke's 2007 film Funny Games, also known as Funny Games US. The movie follows George, Anne, and their son Georgie as they arrive at their lake house. They soon begin to get terrorized by Peter and Paul, two young men who were thought to be friends of their neighbor. The torture and mind games continue all through the night until the entire family is eventually killed. The movie ends as Peter and Paul visit a new family. Ethan, glad to have you back on for this one. I'd actually never heard of this movie, so very glad you recommended it. But as always, John, start us off. Opening thoughts on the movie?
Yeah, so that is true. Like, I'd never heard of this movie either. Ethan almost demanded that I watch it, so I watched it. And I tell you, the first time I watched it, I sat through it. I'm like, I didn't know what to think. I almost didn't like it. I almost did not like this film.
It's strange, right?
Yeah, it's very different. But then the movie was over. And then I'm thinking about it more, and it started to get under my skin, right? I'm like, what's going on with this film? Why is this? And then I also thought, okay, Ethan recommended it. He bought it on Blu-ray. There's a reason for that. So what am I missing here? And then, and it kept getting under my skin. And then now I really, really appreciate it. I don't know if I'd go and say like I loved it or anything like that, but I like it. I appreciate it for what it was trying to do, or I don't know what it's trying to do. I appreciate what it made me think about, because I thought about this movie off and on for like 3 or 4 months.
And I was very entertained the entire time. I enjoyed watching this film. It gripped my attention. I was on the edge of my seat for most of the film. And to me, that's really the epitome of a good movie, is just entertaining the viewer throughout. Ethan, obviously, as John just let in with, you love this movie.
Yeah. I haven't seen the 2007 one, so I'm going based off the Austrian one, which is 1997. But they're a shot-for-shot remake. So, and yeah, I spent like $40 on a Blu-ray, so I'm not going to watch the American one.
And it's and actually they use the same house as well.
Yeah, it's exactly
same set, like same lines, shot-for-shot remake, just different actors.
Yeah. So. Yeah, I loved it. I'd been hearing about it for a long time, and then I got the Criterion channel, which is like a Criterion Collection.
Yep,
it's like a streaming service for that, and it was on there. So I'm like, all right, cool, let's watch it, and it blew me away. I was stunned, and this movie is like one of the reasons why European movies are the best movies. European movies kicks North American movies' ass. All right, European movies are the best because the endings are just there's the entire movie, you don't know what's going to happen, because American movies always have this thing where it's like, it's happy ending, has to be happy ending. But European
or at least some type of a resolution of some sort, right?
Kind. European movies leave it open-ended all the time, and I love it.
Okay, and the movie just kind of cuts off, because this one, speaking about the ending, and we can start there, it doesn't matter to me, it really kind of just cut, right? So it's just with them kind of entering that new house, asking for eggs again, which I absolutely love, by the way. We're going to talk about that scene in a second. And then he just kind of smirks at the camera. I love how he breaks the fourth wall throughout this film, and then it just kind of cuts to black and the movie's over.
Yeah.
Love that.
It's awesome. Yeah. And like, if you like that, then check out more European movies, because they do it a lot, and it's awesome. I love it. I love it so much. So
very cool. John, you happy with this one, with the abrupt ending like that?
Yeah, for sure. For what it was, that's exactly what they were doing with it, right? Just it's a transition from family to family, a never-ending loop, right? And Ethan told me to watch this movie called The Vanishing, a European film. Amazing.
Okay, well maybe we'll have to check that one out later.
Really good. But what I was going to say about the whole European films thing, like I was just Quentin Tarantino is not European, but
Yeah. So
Yeah.
you're gonna have
Inspired by
you're gonna have successes on both. There's gonna be good ones. Like-
movies.
Well, there's gonna be good European movies, obviously, but there's also gonna be bad ones you've never heard of, right? Just
For
like
sure.
there's good North American ones, but we just know about so many more bad ones because we live in North America,
I'm
right?
just picking on him. That's all.
Yeah. But going back to it, John, did you love that? It's not the opening scene, but kind of like one of the first like scenes where the guys come over and they want to boil the eggs.
So when I watched it, I watched it with Ethan the first time. So he didn't tell me anything about it.
Okay.
So I didn't know if it was a thriller. I didn't know if it was a horror. I didn't know anything like that, right? So watching it, I was watching it going, okay, clearly something bad's gonna happen, right? Like just the way they're talking and the way they're being
But I loved
weird.
how overly polite they were.
No, I know, and that's what the white gloves and everything. It was just
Okay. Did I miss something? What is with the white gloves?
I think it's part of the fourth wall thing.
Okay.
I'm not. I couldn't tell you. Like Ethan might be able to tell you, but I just think it's one of those things where it's like they're a part of it, but they're not a part of that world. So then they wear that same uniform with the white gloves. You know what I mean? I just
Were they like golfing gloves or what were they?
I
Looked like winter mittens for kids.
So Ethan, you think they were winter mittens?
No, they looked like that.
Okay.
I didn't even think about it. I was just like, okay, I guess they don't want fingerprints.
Oh, okay.
That's
okay.
all I thought.
Okay, so that was like your assumption as to why they had those gloves on.
I thought I didn't think about the fourth wall connection until later on. So at the beginning, I just thought they were wearing the white gloves just because,
Just to be weirdos.
just to be weird, right? So the fingerprint thing doesn't make any sense at all later on when they can just change what they want, right? So what does it matter if they wear the gloves or not, right? Because they could just change anything they want. So for me, I think looking back on it now, is like just to show that they're part of the film, but not part of the film. You know?
Yeah. They're almost like outside it. Like
Yes.
they know that a film's going on,
Yes.
which is such a strange concept.
That's what I mean. Like I thought about this movie for a long time afterwards, which you know what I mean. Like that's what I mean. Like I really appreciate that. I really, really do. But once again, like for me, it was a hard movie to watch again. Right? It's just I didn't want to watch it again.
Well, because you know what's gonna happen, right?
Well,
and
that's not usually not a problem for me.
No. Like I'm not saying like the story was ruined for you. I'm saying like you know that a kid is gonna get killed, right? And like you don't necessarily want to see it. You know that a woman's gonna get drowned. You don't really want to see that stuff, right? But
you don't really.
yeah.
You don't see it happen.
No,
see
you don't see it happen, but you know it's gonna happen, and like you're rooting for the characters, and it even gets brought up at that one part, which I love, by the way, when Pitt turns to the audience and says, when he's talking about the bet, and it's like, I bet you guys are rooting for the family, right? I'm
Yeah.
like, this is awesome.
Yeah, it was awesome.
But he's right. We are rooting for the family, right? And so it is upsetting to see the people you're rooting for die, especially if you know it's gonna happen.
Yeah, I guess it was just. It wasn't really the fact that they died. It was that really was unsettling to me. This movie really was not unsettling to me. I feel like that's a bad sign. But it was just like the little things that happened that really killed them. Like she didn't wave down the first car. She waved down the second car.
Okay.
Right, stuff like that.
I'm so glad you brought that up because that was one of my major criticisms. Because I'm just like, either she waves down no cars or she waves down the first car. I just can't see her doing the way she did it.
I don't have a problem with the way she did it. I think she didn't trust anything. She didn't trust anyone at that point. And then I think it was like one of those things, well, I just missed my opportunity. I should have waved down that first car. Why didn't I do that? I'm not going to make that mistake again. I could get out of here if I did that.
So you're perfectly fine with that?
I was perfectly fine with that. Yeah. But I like with what Ethan just said about, the little things that killed him or anything like that. The whole point is that it doesn't matter.
No, I agree.
It doesn't matter what they did.
There was
doesn't
no
matter what
no
they
chance
do.
of them getting away.
No. So like for like, as what I no, I know what you mean though. It's more the thing is like, so what's very interesting this film for me anyways, it's like what's the constant tension. You are rooting for the family. You're not rooting for anyone else. That's for sure. And the whole time you're hoping that someone gets away, that something good happens, because that's the way you expect or you want life to be. You want there to be some sort of happy resolution. You want to be some sort of justice or fairness or whatever it is you're looking for. You want these things. And every time they're there, you think you're going to get that. You're going to get that payoff, that buyout. It gets yanked away from you. And that's what made this movie for me so powerful.
And I think that they were purposely doing that, though. They wanted to give the family the belief that they might be able to escape. They might be able to get away. It was like a cat and mouse game where they're just going to play with them all night long until they're going to finally put them out of their misery.
That's what I was trying to illustrate my previous point. I guess I didn't come across just the fact that they were doing that, right? That it didn't matter what happened and that it looked like she might get out. That one part that when I watched with Dad, he literally shoved his hands into the air and screamed, "Yes!" was when she picked up the gun and shot the guy.
Okay, that's one of the wildest scenes I've seen in a movie. Like, there's no possible way that I could have predicted. He then picks up the TV remote and hits rewind.
That's awesome.
Like, I
thought my thing had broken the first time I watched it. I was like, what?
The odds on predicting that would have been like 1 in a billion. Like, it's impossible to predict.
I know, but you don't even feel cheated, though. Like, I didn't feel cheated at all.
I just like, and like, they didn't explain it. They didn't talk about it. They didn't be like, oh, this is why this worked. This is what's going on. There was never any kind of resolution about it. It's just like, this is the way things are.
Well, the point of it is that even though it's weird that you didn't feel cheated within the context.
Did you feel cheated?
Well, this is what I'm trying to explain. So you don't feel cheated, right? I didn't feel cheated, but the whole purpose was to cheat you.
Yeah.
Right? That was that whole scene. That whole scene was to cheat you out of what you were looking for and do it in such a way that you could never have predicted. So in any other type of film, you would have, what? No, this is stupid. I'm out. Right? But then, because you feel cheated, there's no way I could have seen this coming. But that was the whole point. There was no way to see it coming. The point of it was to cheat you. It was to make you feel that something good was about to happen, and it was yanked away from you again.
And as soon as that happens, all hope is lost. You know, at that point, there is no possible way that she's surviving. One
of my favorite parts about this movie, just like my favorite part about it, I think, is the scene where they're fixing a boat it's at the very, very beginning. They're fixing a boat at the bottom of the dock. And there's a specific shot where he kicks the knife into the boat. And I thought this. I know he thought this. I'm pretty sure most people watching it thought this. They thought, oh, that's a tool used for later.
And everyone thought it was.
Yeah, but then they just see her doing it. They take the knife and toss it in the water like it was nothing. I loved that because it completely threw you off because it put the usual horror landmarks there that you thought was going to be the reason they got out, and they took it away, and it was just like it shocked me. It was awesome.
Talking about throwing it away like it's nothing, they terrorized her all night long, and then he's just like, "Yeah, we're done with you," and just push her overboard just like that. Oh no, I know. I'm like talking about throwing something away like it's nothing. They just treated her the same way. Just completely like, "Yeah, we're done with her." Push her overboard.
Yes, because they're part of the film, but not. It's like so. But that's a great point. What Ethan just made there is like because they made a big deal of that knife
because they showed it, and you always say they show something for a reason.
Exactly right, but they made a strong point of pointing out that this knife was kicked into the boat, right, and then. So you think it's going to have a bigger role than it does, right? So when the knife is seen, they just take it away from her like they're just taking it away from a child. It just minimizes
just
that whole scene.
Inconsequential.
Yeah, it's just all doesn't matter, does not matter. So I really enjoyed that scene as well.
The one thing I wanted to bring up to you, and I'm being overly harsh, but I always want to bring up these little things like, are you sure they would do that? When they realize that these guys are bad news and the friends come to visit on the boat, don't you think they would have screamed to them, "Call 911, we need help," something like that?
Then you're immediately dead.
You think?
Of course.
I don't know if I play along. I really don't, especially since you already know that, or you should assume they've done something to the neighbor because you've seen them with the neighbor. And now they're here, so you know that something's happened to the neighbor.
If they're even thinking about that at all. But this is what you're also thinking about. You have your son in the house. You have your husband in the house. And they're gonna like if you as soon as you do that, like you're done. You're dead. Why would they keep you alive? Call 911. Okay, the police are coming. So now what? You're gonna keep alive the witnesses? No, you're dead.
So you had no problem at all
No problem with that.
with them just playing along.
I have no problem with that. I thought maybe like it's she had they put her in a position. Once again, I think this was a tool used to be like what you just did. Well, why didn't she do this? Or like, why isn't she doing this? But when you sit back and look at it and you go, okay, one, she's immediately dead. Or, you know, why couldn't she just jump in their boat and say, let's get out of here? Then her family's dead. Like there's not, then the whole point was to put her in that position and have the audience be anxious about it. And I think they did a great job. I could tell you the only problem I had with this film was when they disabled the husband.
With the golf club.
Yeah. That was a perfect shot of a moving target and completely debilitated in one shot. That does not happen. That does not happen. I would have been better if they whacked him with a golf club, husband falls down, they crack his knee a couple more times with the golf
just
club.
like hit him two or three
more
more times.
Just one perfect shot, and then that's the perfect one that dislocates his knee. Come on. That's the only problem I had with this film, the entire thing.
Interesting. Ethan, comments on not asking for help, and then what John just brought up there with the debilitating best swing ever of a golf club.
I wouldn't have screamed 911 get help, but there was a very specific moment where she could have just leaned in and whispered, call 911. And I noticed that she could have just leaned in and go, call 911, and then just like pretend like
just being like,
happened.
oh, it's so good to see you guys, giving them like hugs and stuff like that.
She was doing that, and I would have been like, call 911. I would have whispered that into her. He would not have heard that. I know he wouldn't have heard that.
But you know what? Having said that, to be the devil's advocate about my own point, like the neighbors might have given it away with like a weird facial expression or something like that, and then he would have known what was up. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I know. But you know, I would have tried something. But I 100% understand why she didn't. The knee thing, I'm kind of like, yeah, he brings up a good point, but I don't care. Like, I just like.
And I guess the other thing, instead of the 911, and maybe this is a jerk of me saying this, but I've been like, oh guys, come on in for a second. You know what I mean?
Oh no, that'd have been a terrible play. But once again,
that would have been how so?
What do you mean? 'Cause they're gonna you
put them in danger,
yeah.
but you have a better chance of your family surviving.
I don't know if you do.
Okay.
Have you what? Like, okay, she doesn't know this obviously, right? But even all these points we're bringing up, none of them matter.
No, especially when we know they have the rewind capability.
None of it, right? So that's what I mean. Like, it's like you're totally cheated. You're totally cheated as an audience, but you don't care. That's the brilliant part about it.
Interesting. And then I got to come back to that scene at the end where he pushes her over, and then the other guy's like, "What? We still had another hour. I'm hungry." Yeah, all right. Then go and ask for more eggs, right? Like that's what sticks in my head. That's what sticks with me forever. Ethan, I wanted to ask you about this. Just because you're such a film buff. I'd never heard of this director before.
Michael Haneke, he's great.
Yeah. Okay, I wasn't even sure if I was saying his name correctly. Has he done anything else of note that sticks out in your mind?
This isn't even his best movie, in my opinion.
Really?
Yeah.
And are they all European films? Is this his only American one, the remake?
I think so. I think he made one that was big in America called, I can't remember what it was called, Amelie or something. But his best movie, in my opinion, is Caché. It stands for hidden, I think, and not stands for. It's translated to stalker or something, hidden something. But it's absolutely one of the best movies of the 2000s because it's 2005, I think. That's his best movie. This one's awesome though. He also made one called Code Unknown, which I think I gotta watch again. But he's awesome. I love his movies. I think he's great.
And you know what? For a director I'd never heard of, he's obviously a big deal, and that's why I wanted to ask you about him. Just because of like the actors that he got for this film, right? Like he got Naomi Watts. He had Tim Roth. He had Michael Pitt. Like that's a pretty significant ensemble cast for a European director that someone like me had never heard of, right? Like I'm like, wow, I was pretty impressed when I saw that. Like I couldn't believe that I'd never heard of this movie before. I must have been living under a rock.
It wasn't very big. I only know about it because I go out of my way to find movies like this.
Okay,
right?
and then I guess just to contradict my point, I did write this down, that it didn't receive a wide theatrical release when
No.
it first came out. Like, it was made for and I'm talking about the remake here, made for 15 million and only got about 8.2 million in the box office. So it was considered a bit of a box office flop. So maybe that's
Yeah.
why I didn't hear about it.
Yeah, because this movie is just like very unsettling to too unsettling to a lot of people. Psychological torment, and I was thoroughly enjoyed the whole time, and I was barely unsettled, but I was just like, this is awesome, pretty much. But I want to talk about one scene that we haven't gotten to yet.
Okay.
That I don't get scared easy. I'm jaded, just like my dad, right? I don't get scared easy. This scene had me tensed up when I first watched it, and it was a scene where the kid goes to the neighbor's house
To try and get away.
Yeah, and the guy follows him, and the kid's running around hiding in the house while this guy's walking around searching for him. I thought that was terrifying.
Yeah, and then he comes across the bodies, right? The kid does.
Yeah, he finds his friend's body. She's like, oh my god, and he freaks out because she's 7 and she's dead on the ground.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Very, very. I can see why it's unsettling. It didn't really bother me that much, but it was awesome.
John, how about you? Because it's rare, as you always say, for the hairs on your body to raise when you're watching one of these films.
No, that was a tense scene. Like I don't feel the tension. I don't know. I guess for this film, I was just more. What was my most comment on it was I almost thought it was a little too slow the first time I watched it.
Really?
Yeah. So it's but it wasn't. I was just not.
Maybe you weren't in the right headspace when you
Yeah,
watched
it's
this the
probably
first
not
time.
in the right headspace for sure. I would agree with that. But yeah, so for those tense scenes, they're really good, but it's almost all the scenes in this film from that context. As soon as these two guys show up on the scene with their white gloves, the tension is building and it's constant.
Oh yeah, because
And
you know
it's-
something's up.
Yeah, you definitely know something's up. These guys are not there for a good thing. So I agree with Ethan. The whole film, very very tense. But then I want to say once the remote came out, the tension for me was just gone.
Because you knew it was
Yeah,
over.
all gone.
That's why, like I
Yeah.
said before, you knew all hope was lost at that point.
Yeah, right. So, so it could have ended right then. The movie, and it wouldn't have mattered to me, either way. I don't know what you think about that, but
Yeah. Well, it couldn't have. I hear what you're saying,
okay.
but it couldn't have ended right then because you needed the closure of Naomi Watts. At that point, was the only in the remake. Naomi Watts, the wife, was the only one left, so you needed to see her killed.
I guess I don't know if you did though, because you knew there was no. Doesn't matter.
But then if it had ended there, you wouldn't have got that great scene at the end where they're moving on to a new family.
Yes, but you got that. You knew that from the beginning.
Yeah, I guess. Ethan, your thoughts on that?
It couldn't have done that. It would have been too ambiguous. I love ambiguous endings. I know a lot of people don't. They're my absolute favorite. They're my
Okay.
absolute favorite. But when it's ambiguous, there has to be kind of it's something where it's leading somewhere. You just don't know where, right? So have you ever seen The Lobster?
No.
Okay, well, it has arguably my favorite ambiguous ending ever. I'm not going to spoil it, but in this ending there was a choice, right? There was 3 options that could have happened, right? You just don't know which one he picked,
Oh.
right? So I feel like that's the key to an ambiguous ending. You can't just cut it off anywhere.
You have to say this. You have to give an audience an idea of what could happen.
Yeah, you just don't know what did.
I would like you to define ambiguous. Why would that be ambiguous? It wouldn't be ambiguous. He rewinded it and he changed how everything went. So it's very clear right then that he's been breaking the fourth wall through the whole movie, and then he rewinds a murder of his partner, and it's not. To me, that wasn't ambiguous. To me, that actually clarified the entire film and the fourth wall stuff.
Yeah. No. And I hear both arguments there. I'll tell you a couple people that didn't absolutely love it. The critics. The remake here has a Rotten Tomatoes critic score of 52. And I looked up the original, and it's not much higher. I think
65 or something.
yeah,
right?
something like so within like the same realm, I guess.
Yeah.
Audience score for this remake 54. I was a little surprised with that, and maybe it is because it's such like a kind of weird, quirky film. Maybe that's why it's a little bit lower.
It's I think it's because some people just never seen something like it, and right, they've never seen something as like unsettling or anything as kind of weird or just like what the hell's happening, and their immediate response is to not like it.
And I guess a kid and a dog get killed. That doesn't help some people's enjoyment.
Well, yeah, that usually doesn't. So I would like to compare this to just the tension part. Have you ever read a book by Cormac McCarthy called The Road?
The Road, is that
They made
into
a
a movie?
Netflix movie, but I'm talking about the book.
I haven't read the book. I think I've seen the movie though.
Okay. So I read the book. It's probably one of the best written books I've ever read,
Yeah.
and it's amazing. So awesome.
It's the one with the dad and the son trying to make their way in
Yeah.
the post-apocalyptic
Yeah.
world.
But I will never ever read it again. And I read books 3 to 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 times.
Oh, wow.
So, because it was so unsettling. The whole time I was reading that book, my stomach hurt.
Oh,
That is
interesting.
an amazing writing job to do that. Like, Cormac McCarthy is amazing. But so, like, this movie has that kind of feel to it, which is why I don't want to watch it again. But, well, not...
But you would recommend it.
Yes, it's some. I recommended The Road to Ethan, right? Yeah. So like I did that, right? So, but I also read somewhere, because I was looking at this book. So looking at this movie, Funny Games. I also read the director was like designed the film to, push the audience to the point whether or not they're going to walk out of the theater.
Yeah, I read something like he wanted it to be a commentary on media and violence or something like that.
Yeah, so for me personally, I don't like people that when someone does that, you don't need to do a commentary on. I don't know what that even means. Like,
Okay.
I'm not your. Like, I guess we're all people's experiences or test experiments or whatever. I like the idea of it, like him trying to push the envelope of how far can I push the audience before they get up and leave. Like, I like that idea. I think that's good. But to try to use us as, or say we're like tests, guinea pigs in his weird experiment.
Yeah.
I don't like that stuff. I don't know if that's actually what he's trying to do. I have no idea. I do know that he was trying to make it very uncomfortable and to dare the audience to walk out. Like, that's how it was designed.
That's very interesting. Ethan, what are your thoughts on that point?
If you wanted me to leave the theater, you should have just made Batman vs Superman.
Yeah. No, fair enough. That was trash.
Yeah. I don't know. Like, I read that. I read it was like, if you stayed for the whole movie, you lost. That's what he said.
That's hilarious.
Yeah. I
Well,
didn't.
then I'm a loser.
Yeah, right. I didn't even think about closing this movie. There was no point where I was like, "This is too much for me."
Even if this
Not
wasn't
even close.
even if this wasn't for the podcast, I would have watched this straight through. Of course I would have.
Yeah, like there was no point throughout this entire movie where I ever wanted to turn it off, ever wanted to do something else, right? Ever wanted to do anything except watch this movie. So either he failed in his experiment heavily, or I messed up. But like, I don't know, or maybe it's just because it was made 20 years ago.
Or maybe it was just a marketing ploy.
Yeah, you never know, right?
Who knows,
you never
right?
know.
I don't know. But Ethan, you're going to say something about The Road, I thought.
Oh, right. Yeah, I was just kind of going to reiterate what he was talking about The Road. But so when I was reading that book, like from the first word, my stomach hurt. And
okay.
Yeah. And so from the first word, and so let's say I read 50 pages. Okay. And it was just grief the whole time. I'd close the book. I'd go and do something awesome. I'd go do something else. Let's say I had the best time of my life. I went off and I went to go Canada's Wonderland. It was awesome. I'd come back, pick up that book, open it again. From the first word I started reading, my stomach, no matter how awesome my day was, I would be filled with grief again.
Oh, wow.
You have to read it. It was just fantastic.
Well, that's pretty
I think
incredible.
it won a Pulitzer Prize.
I know one or two of his books have. I don't know if that's the one that has, though. I thought it was what's the one? He has a 3-part Western a Western series, and no, that's not Blood Meridian's not part of it. But he had a 3-part. I think it was like All the Pretty Horses are in it or something like that. Or that could be the wrong title, and I'm sorry, Cormac, because you're awesome. But yeah, it's not. He did win the Pulitzer, that's for sure.
Interesting. Well, fellas, I can say that all three of us like this movie. Go and check it out. For anyone out there who has Amazon Prime, you can watch the US version on Amazon Prime. Ethan will probably tell you to watch the European version, and in that case, I think you got to order the Blu-ray online or something like that.
You can get if you have Criterion Channel.
Or the Criterion Channel.
If you have the Criterion Channel, you can watch that.
Very cool. Well, but fellas, anything else to add?
Yeah. So Ethan just checked it out. The Road did win the Pulitzer Prize.
Oh, very cool. Very
Yes.
cool.
Yeah. But other than that, about this movie, it will get you thinking. Like
Yeah.
I thought a long time after this one, and it was very, it's different, unique. It's excellent. It is excellent.
It'll stick with you.
Yeah, definitely.
Ethan, again, loved having you here. Any
you.
final thoughts on this one?
It's awesome. If you like this movie and you want to watch more like them, check out more European movies, man. Check out movies like La Haine, The Vanishing. Check out movies from the French New Wave, right? They're all not all like as good as this, but they're all unique. They're all interesting. They're all great, right? And if you want to watch something different, check more European movies because, in my opinion, they are better in general than American movies, and they're really awesome, right? So
Very cool. Well, folks, please subscribe to our YouTube channel. Check out our Facebook page and follow us on both Twitter and Instagram @DamnMovies. We want to hear what you thought of today's podcast and any suggestions you have, especially in terms of what movies you'd like us to discuss next. Send us an email to moviesofthedamned@gmail.com. Please also check out John's full-length novels. His first 2 novels, Dollhouse and The Tracker, are Amazon bestsellers. You can also order his novella Balance, his book of short stories, 4 Shots of Horror, and his newest novel, Off the Grid, right now on Amazon as well. For further details on John's other published works, please visit his blog, johnhuntfiction.wordpress.com. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time.
Yeah, and if you get a chance, please leave a rating on whatever podcast platform you happen to be listening to. It really helps us out. But other than that, please have a great week. Be kind, everyone.